Hey everyone, welcome to Conversations with the Real Estate Redhead. Today we have Kim Herrington on with Farmers Insurance out of Corpus, and she is going to talk to all of us about replacement costs today. So it's going to be really informative, and thank you so much, girl, for coming on.
It is my pleasure. Hello, everybody. So one of the topics that I really wanted to talk about is the estimated cost to reconstruct your home.
Okay.
We never think about that. We look at a policy and, every now and then we review our own policies and we look at this number. So on your insurance policy, you see that as dwelling coverage. When we are starting your policy, when we're renewing your policy, this number to us is the estimated cost to rebuild your home in today's market.
Okay.
So many people will look at that big number because it tends to be a big number.
Yeah.
And they'll say, Kim, I didn't buy my house for that.
Seriously, why are you insuring me for this much?
Why are you insuring it? Kim, if I could sell my house for that much.
Seriously.
Yes. So it always seems like such a big number. But what we don't realize is we're not insuring for what you owe the bank.
Yeah.
We're not insuring your home for what you bought it for 20 years ago.
Yeah.
If something happens to that house today, there is going to be a cost to rebuilding it.
Yeah.
And there's added cost. We had several years ago, if you're from Corpus Christi, there was 2 little houses by the mall. There was a gas leak and they blew up.
Oh my.
If you drive by right behind the mall, if you drive by that neighborhood, you see these 2 brand new homes in this slightly older neighborhood.
Yeah.
There was a cost to rebuild those homes.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's something called debris removal,
Okay.
If something happens to your house and it's not repairable, they have to demolish it, take all that away, right? Haul it off.
Yeah.
A lot of people will say, Kim, I'll just use the slab. I'll keep the slab. Well, the city of Corpus Christi is not going to allow you to do that. They're going to make you, because there's pipes,
True.
It's just not, it's not a safe structure.
Yeah.
So you have to take it all away. That's debris removal.
Wow.
And that's factored into that reconstruction cost.
Okay.
So insurance companies, we have systems. So we do not make up numbers.
Right.
We take every detail of the house, the size, square footage, number of bathrooms, what type of flooring you have.
Like the grade of it?
Everything,
like if it's super custom or if it's just basic?
Absolutely. If you have granite, if you have Formica countertops, all of that's a factor. And so we type all of that into a calculator, right? And it gives us an estimated reconstruction cost.
Yeah.
So as important as these calculators are, it's really, I always say it's a mutual responsibility because I'm giving the homeowner my most educated number of what, value of what that cost is. But as a homeowner, we know what's happening in our community. We see new construction and we see the cost. So if you see in your neighborhood that new homes are going up for $180 a square foot.
Yeah.
And you look at your policy and you're insuring your house at $120 a square foot to rebuild. That's not enough. It is not enough. So what we recommend is to review your policies.
Yeah.
Have those conversations with your insurance agent. I mean, this is one of our biggest assets. We want to make sure none of us want our insurance premiums to go up. So it's not a conversation we necessarily want to have.
Yeah.
But if something happens and we know that the market that we're living in, everything's costing more, right? Inflation is high. Cost of construction is high. We need to make sure that our insurance is keeping up.
Right. Absolutely. Or is there anything built into the policy? Like if someone has had their policy for 5-6 years and they're just kind of like shoving it in a drawer and not really paying much attention and they know that it's just being paid. I mean, is there anything to protect those people that are just choosing to do that?
I love it. Yes, there is. With Farmers Insurance, yes, there is.
Cool. You're like, disclaimer, Farmers. Yes. I know for sure for Farmers.
In most big companies. So we're going to share this. And our other big company, our friends, they probably have it built in. But you don't know what you don't know. You have to ask.
Absolutely.
As an insured, you have to ask. So it's called an inflation guard.
Okay.
So you could have started your home last year. Let's just come up with a number, $250,000, right? That's your dwelling coverage. We know now that's the estimated reconstruction cost to rebuild a house. So when your 1-year anniversary comes around and you get your renewal in the mail, if a few weeks, probably 6 weeks before the renewal, you'll see that it's not insured for $250,000 anymore. Let's come up with a number. It's probably insured for $270,000.
Okay.
That's called an inflation guard. So it's built into the policy to help you keep up with inflation, keep up with that increasing cost of construction. And a few years ago, that was kind of going up maybe a few thousand.
Yeah.
Now it's going up, easily, 20,000. Yeah. So Farmers is really trying to do a good job in keeping up with that increasing cost of construction.
That's really good.
We also have something built into the policy. It's called extended replacement cost. So there's two components of the policy that are really trying to help. And that extended replacement cost, you have to be insured at 100% estimated reconstruction cost. So let's go back to the $250,000 example.
Yeah.
Let's say you come in and say, Kim, I don't want to insure it for that. I want to insure for $220. You're going to save $2 if you do that. But let's just say that's what you let's just say that's what you want to do. $220. I probably won't allow you to do it, but this is just an example. If you underinsure your home, then you do not qualify for extended replacement cost.
Interesting.
You have to be at 100% replacement cost.
Okay.
And Farmers has an option, a coverage option, and it could be 10%, 25%, 50% extended replacement cost. So what that does is give you additional coverage in the event the cost of construction goes up in that policy year that's beyond your control.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So if you go in there and you're negligently underinsuring your home,
and they're not going to
extend
the extra coverage.
They're not going to give you the extra coverage because markets do change, right? Cost of construction changes. I mean, look at what happened after Hurricane Harvey.
Yeah.
Look at what happened with COVID. Lumber mills were shut down.
Yeah,
and then there was a hurricane that hit, what was it? Louisiana? Yeah. So between COVID and a hurricane, the cost of lumber was skyrocketing.
Yeah.
So that's not your fault. That's not my fault. So that endorsement on a homeowner's policy is golden.
Yeah,
really.
absolutely.
When you're the policy owner and your house is, it's a complete loss, you're going to be very grateful that those endorsements are built into the policy.
Wow. So then how does that work if for the $250 example? So if the house is insured for $250 and then that additional replacement cost coverage that's in there, say the house is a total loss, it comes in to play whenever the total amount to replace the house is more than $250? Okay.
So if the cost of construction exceeds that $250, not because of we're negligently underinsuring the home, but because of the cost of construction is more than originally, we originally decided based on the calculators, based on the current market. It's out of our control. Yeah, it's increasing cost of construction. Yep.
So then do I have to build my house back the exact same way? Or can I choose to add an extended garage or make my kitchen better? And
sure, you can do anything you want, but insurance is going to replace the same like, kind, and quality. So if you have a 1,600 square foot home, they're going to rebuild, they're going to replace that. If you want to add a room, that's going to be additional cost out of your own pocket.
They wouldn't.
They're not going to, you can't upgrade, right? They're going to replace similar to what you had.
Yeah.
And then anything beyond that, that's going to be a conversation between you and your contractor outside of the insurance claim.
Got it. Yeah. Okay. Well, that's
upgrades.
Interesting.
You're going to be responsible for your own upgrades.
Yeah. Okay. So other than replacement costs and things like that, what would you say are other good coverages to make sure that your policy has?
Right now, it is critical to look at loss of use. Loss of use. We had a fire. One of our families had a fire in April.
Okay.
They're just getting into their home. It wasn't a total loss. It was a repair, right? They had to remodel their house.
Almost, a year ago?
Yeah. We're going on a year. So what happens is, that evening when there was a house fire, we had her and her husband in a hotel. They were at Walmart buying pajamas.
Oh.
It happens. And it always happens at night. So they're in a hotel. By Thursday, they were in a rental home. And they've been in a rental home ever since.
Dang.
That entire cost of the rental is under loss of use on your policy.
Okay.
So, it is shocking what rental prices are right now.
Yeah.
Isn't it? As a realtor,
Yeah.
How about a furnished rental?
Yeah.
We're looking at $2,600,
$2,800
a month for a fully furnished
because all your stuff is destroyed.
Yeah.
You can't just not have something to sleep on and a table to eat at. Oh my goodness gracious.
So you have to look at that number and think. And the thing is, so some policies are extended for 12 months.
Okay.
We have a policy that extends up to 24 months. Well, why on earth would you need 24 months to rebuild?
Yeah.
Look at what's happening. You can't find workers.
Delays
our contractors are completely delayed, and it's not that our contractors are bad. They're living the same situation that all of us are. There's delays.
Yeah.
So what happens? That what seemed to be a little project ends up being, so long.
A really big deal.
A really, really big deal. So what would happen is if you had a loss of use coverage for 12 months and and it goes to 18 months, and you would be out of pocket that cost for the additional 8 months.
Wow.
So if you can possibly get 24 months, do it. Make that change on your policy. If you have a low limit on that loss of use, just do some math. Do 2,600, multiply that by a few months, and you can kind of see that's expensive.
Yeah, that's a lot of money.
Just make sure that you have, it's always hard to know what's enough.
Exactly.
How much am I going to need? But that's a conversation that you and your insurance agent can have to make sure that you have adequate coverage. It's hard to predict everything, but you definitely want to review it.
Yeah. So what does that look like then? If all of these things that, people need to review with their agent, how do they go about doing that?
Phone call.
Okay.
Phone call. Or it could even be an email. An email to your agent says, I haven't reviewed this. Can you highlight the most important parts? Do I have enough coverage? Do I have enough coverage? We saw it during Hurricane Harvey. There were some people that were, starting to remodel their homes, and the cost of insurance was going up, and what they had in place wasn't enough. And so we want to make sure that people are adequately insured. We never want anybody underinsured.
Yeah.
And we don't want anybody overinsured. We don't want people to spend money unnecessarily. Of course not.
Exactly.
And we don't want their deductibles to be inflated. So if you have just a huge amount of insurance that you don't need, that's going to inflate your deductible unnecessarily. So we don't want that either. Yeah. We want people adequately insured, but don't leave it up to one person. Definitely be part of that as a homeowner, be a part of that conversation.
Well, and that's like your responsibility as a homeowner is to take responsibility for that. Like, you are the professional, but they also have, duties in this as well, right? Like they also have a responsibility. And
absolutely. It's a shared responsibility is what I say.
Yeah.
And then living on the coast. There's a whole nother policy that we need to talk about. It's not necessarily going to affect our friends that are in San Antonio, but if you're on the coast and you have a separate windstorm policy, they have an inflation guard.
Okay.
Usually $1,000. Recently, it's been maybe $2,000 or $3,000, right? It does not keep up with your homeowner's policy.
Yeah.
So you have to put those policies side by side and quote that windstorm policy like your homeowners, and just make sure that it's not lagging.
Got
right?
it.
That it's not
falling behind.
And some people, they'll choose to have a little bit less coverage, but that's really has to be a choice that you make as a homeowner.
Yeah.
That you don't let an insurance company decide that for you.
Absolutely.
Review your policies, make sure that those coverages match, and get a quote. So you definitely, you may not want me to increase your windstorm by $20,000, right? Automatically, of course not.
Yeah.
But it does require a conversation.
Yeah.
Why is my homeowner's at 270, but my windstorm is still at 251?
Right, exactly.
Why don't those match? So ask questions as a homeowner.
Yeah. Lean on your insurance professional to be there for you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, that kind of makes me wonder, whenever it comes to those policies, you've got your home and you've got your wind. How do you feel about flood insurance around this area?
It is absolutely necessary.
Yeah.
So we have two types, mandatory flood, right? If you're in a high risk flood zone, your mortgage company is going to require you to have flood insurance if you're in a high risk. And then if you're in a low to moderate, the mortgage company's not going to require you to have flood insurance.
Yeah.
But we live on the coast.
Exactly.
It can flood anywhere.
Exactly.
Flood is one of the highest paid claims in all of the United States. I mean, it's a loss that can happen to any one of us.
Yeah.
It just has to rain long enough and the water doesn't drain. Where is it going to go up? Where is it going to go? It's going to go up.
Exactly.
And so there have been claims that we've experienced in Weslaco, Texas. Hadn't flooded, probably ever.
Exactly.
And there was old neighborhoods that were flooded.
That's hard. That's really hard.
San Benito, Harlingen, those neighborhoods weren't in high risk flood zones.
Yeah.
The only thing that happened is it rained for a really long period of time, and that water didn't drain.
Yeah. Well, and it's not like you can just decide in the middle of a rainstorm to go and call your insurance agent to get flood either.
Nope. So the National Flood Insurance Program does have a mandatory 30-day wait.
Okay.
So there are private flood companies that do not require the 30-day wait, but we have moratoriums, right? So if there's a storm, and it doesn't even have to be a tropical storm, a named storm, it could just be a rain event.
Yeah.
And we'll get emails that shut us down and we cannot sell insurance that day until the event is past us.
Wow.
So, right before Hurricane Harvey, we all know we have homeowners insurance. We all know we have windstorm insurance, right? Our mortgages require it.
Yeah.
That Wednesday, my phone blew up for flood insurance.
Dang.
And we do our best to send, letters every single year. We
That's
send
true.
emails, would you like to purchase flood insurance? But a lot of us, we forget. And so it was a lot of phone calls. Is flood insurance included in my homeowner's policy? It's not.
Yeah.
Flood insurance is not included in any homeowner's policy or any windstorm policy.
Exactly.
So it's important.
Yeah.
And it's relatively inexpensive. If you look at flood insurance compared to everything else we spend, an annual policy is going to be, not as expensive. It's worth the investment.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I remember, whenever I would look at my insurance policies and I would see like the different premiums, I feel like the windstorm was always so expensive. And then the others were like a little bit less of a hit, especially the flood. And I talk about that with my husband. I'm like, but do we really need it? We're inland. We're not, even though we live in Rockport, we're on a peninsula, for heaven's sakes. We're surrounded by water. And we're like, yeah, we're like a mile from the water. It's no big deal.
But, you may not be directly affected by storm surge, but your drainage system could be.
Yeah. We haven't gone without it, for sure. It's just not, it's like one of those things. It's like, is the risk worth not having it, and it just scares me. I would just rather be protected and, have an insurance company I can rely on rather than having to go to the store myself and buy all of the supplies and just be super overwhelmed with the cost.
It's absolutely horrific.
Yeah.
And what people don't realize is our National Flood Insurance Program, it caps out at $250,000.
Yeah.
$250,000. So for all of our friends that live, in Port A, and they may have a $400,000 home, $500,000 home, that $250,000 will satisfy the requirements from their mortgage.
Yeah.
But it's not going to rebuild their home.
Right.
So a lot of people will say, well, Kim, the water is only going to go up so high. I can remodel it. Well, if it's deemed unrepairable, right? There are some losses that you just cannot repair. You have to demolish the home. And so if you have a mortgage for $500,000 and you have a policy for $250,000,
no.
It's just, that's
making me cringe.
I know, that's just a nightmare. And it happened. We saw that happen to people in Houston.
Yeah.
There's mini mansions downtown. It happened. Their mortgage was satisfied by the $250,000.
Yeah.
That's all it wasn't satisfied. They still had a mortgage on a home that they couldn't rebuild, right?
Oh my gosh.
For $250,000. And so, but what I'm saying, it satisfied the requirement for flood. The $250,000 satisfied the requirement for flood. But it wasn't enough to rebuild.
Right.
So what happens? They had to go rent somewhere else, pay rent, pay a mortgage on a home that they didn't have.
And then figure out how they're going to pay for these repairs for this house.
Yeah.
That they can't live in.
So that's called excess flood insurance.
Okay.
Excess flood insurance. So if you have a home that's in a high risk flood zone, anywhere, right?
Yeah.
But especially in a high risk flood zone, and it's worth more than $250,000.
Yeah.
Please ask your insurance company, your insurance agent, for an excess flood insurance quote.
Yeah.
It's just, You don't hear a lot of people talking about it.
Exactly.
You don't hear a lot of homeowners that have it. So it's important.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, this has been amazing. This is so much information, and I just, you're kind of blowing my mind with all of this information, and I'm
insurance.
Yeah, exactly. Talk about it all the time. So I think that a lot of people can really benefit, from all of this information. So, to wrap it up, what is one thing you do every day to make the world a better place?
I hope it's educate. I really, certainly be kind. You want to be kind to everybody.
Yeah.
But I think the biggest thing is I want to educate people. I want to help people. And sometimes it's just helping people review their own policy. Sometimes people have relationship with their agents that they've been with for 20 years. We're not pushy salespeople.
Yeah.
We can still sit with you, have a conversation. And in the future, if you need our help, we're here. But if anything, we just want to be helpful.
Absolutely. Well, and I think that's great that you say that, because you're in the perfect career for that, to be able to help, because I feel like so many people just do not understand the concept of insurance, and it's very overwhelming and very daunting.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, homeownership is already a big thing in and of itself, but whenever you think about the protection and the insurance, people just typically pay and don't really pay a whole lot of attention. So
no, it's important.
Yeah,
pay attention.
Absolutely. So this was great. Thanks again for coming on. And if anybody wants to contact your office and have any additional questions, how would they go about doing that?
Absolutely. Call our office. The number is 361-906-1616.
Awesome. Well, thanks again. You guys have a wonderful day. Thanks for tuning in.